Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 144 of the Jiu-Jitsu Dummies podcast. We are brought to you by Black Belt Digital Marketing. Anything you need to build your business on or offline, website design, Google Ads, graphic design, printing, we can absolutely help. Check us out at Black Belt Digital Marketing on Instagram or our website, BB Digital Marketing. Request a free review of your online presence there today. We are also brought to you by academysafe.org. Academy Safe is a nonprofit whose mission is to help clean up the martial arts by advocating for background checks and safe sport certification for all coaches and staff members at every academy throughout the United States. Full disclosure, I am the founder and executive director of the Academy Safe. I'll be putting out more information as we build the organization, so keep an eye on our Instagram at Academy Safe for the latest, along with some of the really exciting partnerships and board appointments. I'm going to blow your mind with one of our board appointments next week. I think you're going to be really surprised at who's going to be involved. So I'm Milton Campus. I'm a black belt training out of South Florida. We got Ben behind the camera. Say hi,
What's
Ben.
up? Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Ben, Kristen's on vacation, so Ben is filling in. So Ben doesn't know that he's supposed to say hello. Don't forget to like, comment, download, share, and click that subscribe button. We really appreciate all the support. Joining us in a few minutes is Cris Rodriguez. She's the founder of Gro Pro Agency and Gracia Pac MMA in Tampa, Florida. We'll get some more details on both of those. A few quick shout outs. Thank you to our friends over at Flow and Roll. Hands down the best custom gi and no-gi gear in the business. Don't believe us? Visit them on Instagram at flow_n_roll. Check out all the custom designs they've done for academies across the country. Visit their website, flowandroll.com, to get 20% off with code JJD. So that's, gis, rash guards, things like that. Gym owners, ask them about their incredible pre-order program, which can help stock up your academy with very little money out of pocket. It's a really interesting program, especially if you're a new gym owner. This is really cool. So I'm going to let him explain it to you, but you can email them at flowandroll, right? It's flow, the letter N, roll, flowandroll@gmail.com, or fill out the form on their website. It comes up right as soon as you visit their homepage. Fill out that form at flowandroll.com, and you get more information from Sean. Last but not least, Leo Optics. Where are my sunglasses? I love my Leo Optics. Woohoo! Look at me. Leo Optics is a sunglass and apparel company specializing in signature bamboo sunglasses. Their passion is rooted in the jiu-jitsu lifestyle, founded in Southern California with products reflecting our BJJ lifestyle, right? So code JJD for 10% off, and the website is leooptics.com. All right? There we are. All right, let's get Kristen here. Let's do it. Hello.
Hello. How we doing?
Good. Thank you for being patient. I appreciate it.
No,
and
that was a great intro.
Thank you.
Very good.
So
I take care of the sponsors.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a couple more at the end too.
Okay.
So, one of my first questions is, I followed you. I've seen the rise of your social media. I've watched. I did notice today, because I've looked at it before. So you are the founder of Gro Pro Agency. And the founder, it says founder, so are you still an owner of Gracia Pac? Or it looks like for the first time I saw like another @ and it looked like somebody else owns it. Did you sell it? Are you still involved? Fill us in there.
I did. No, yeah. I sold my baby in January of this year to Billy Quarantillo. He's a UFC fighter and a friend of mine for the last 12 years. He trains under Matt Arroyo over at Gracie Tampa South, and he has been doing a great job in the transition. Hardest decision I ever made in my life, but it was the best decision.
Yeah. So. Why? Tell me both sides of that. Why was it the hardest?
I mean, I've known that I wanted to be a martial arts school owner since I was 8 years old. First time I ever stepped on the carpet. We didn't even have mats back then. Was March 15th, 1993. And I started at a Taekwondo school.
Yeah.
And I knew from that moment that this is what I wanted to do. And lifelong dream of opening a school. And the only job I ever had was a martial arts instructor.
Really?
And then the general manager of a school. And then when I got my BJJ black belt, I decided to open up Gracia Pac. And this was back in 2012. So since 2012, growing the school was my number one focus. But when you build a business, if you're a good business owner, you start to collect other skills. And one of those skills that I decided to really focus on was digital marketing, because the rent ain't going to pay itself. I'm in Florida. It's hot. Like, I don't want to be out in 100-degree weather putting flyers on cars or being a PE teacher for the day. Like, let me sit in my air-conditioned office, couple of strokes of a keyboard, launch some Facebook and Google ads, and have new students coming in.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I developed that skill and learned the internet marketing game, I started putting courses out, started putting, you know, masterminds together, and it eventually led to Gro Pro Agency. And Gro Pro has just gotten to a point. I have 34 team members right outside that door. We have an in-office model, which in the agency world, it's not common at all.
Not
Most
anymore.
people are using remote teams. Yeah. So, you know, I really had to ask myself, is it fair to my students and my staff at Gracia Pac when I have this split focus? It's not fair to either of the teams. And sometimes the side hustle becomes the main hustle. I will say profit margins in a digital marketing agency are much higher than a jiu-jitsu school.
A little bit.
And, you know, you got the, you know, adage of, you know, chase two rabbits, catch none.
Yeah.
And it just became very evident that if I wanted to hit my goals that I had in the agency, that I would have to let go of the school. But it was my first business, you know, and it's like your baby.
Yeah.
But it was time.
So for anyone that's ever asked me if I want to open a gym or if will I ever open a gym, that's right there is why I wouldn't. I mean, it's just so difficult. I'm you know, I got started in jiu-jitsu at 41. I'm 51 now. So it was like really, you know, like to do it now, I feel like it's a younger man's game, younger person's game. Like you need to really have that energy. I think Ben said it on the last episode. Ben Stark said, he's just like, you've got to be all in, you know, especially if you're building. You know, you have to be there. You have to be the coach. You have to be the lead salesman. You have to really, you know, be the manager. You're going to be cleaning the mat. You're going to be doing all these things. I don't have that energy. But I love jiu-jitsu so much that I would love to be maybe involved with the gym. But to run it, to start one from the ground up, I wouldn't mind helping. But to be that person, it's too difficult. I'm tired.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it definitely was a grind in the beginning, but I built a team.
Yeah.
And back in 2019, I became an offsite owner. I was no longer on the schedule teaching any classes. I built really great instructor training boot camps to train other people to come in. And that's when I shifted my focus to the agency. And then COVID hits, and I mean, we could go down a rabbit hole with that. But I think at the end of the day, if you don't want to ultimately deal with employee churn in your martial arts school or any business, you have to have a dream big enough that houses the dreams of other people.
mm-hmm.
And at one point, I had a kid's BJJ instructor. He was turning 50 years old, and he's like, what am I just going to teach kids jiu-jitsu the rest of my life? And I mean, he was making a really great salary, full benefits as well. You know, I took care of my staff. But where else is there for him to go if I'm not going to scale and start opening up other locations? That's really the only way. And that wasn't on my heart to do. It wasn't on my game plan to do. And, you know, that played a big role as well, is that I knew Gracia Pac was profitable. It was over a $500,000 school without me stepping foot inside more than once a month. I would show up once a month, do instructor training. I would do Zoom meetings on a weekly basis because, you know, you grow the team and then the team can help you build the business. But it was never going to become more than that. And that's not fair to my general manager who's been with me for 6 years, not fair to the kids instructors or the adult instructors. The dream just wasn't big enough to continue for me. And that played a big role into, you know, why I wanted to sell it.
Wow. So you mentioned Matt Arroyo, and I've had, I know that you have to know Robbie D'Onofrio, right?
Robbie D'Onofrio.
Are you, is there like a little Gracie family up there around in like that Tampa area? Like you guys all know each other? Are they all working with you? I kind of feel like in a very good way, like this whole social media thing has happened for all of you guys around the same time. So it looks like it's maybe like same team. Is that what's going on, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've known Matt since 2005. He's my brother from another mother. We went up through the rankings together. He was my very first mentor that I ever had. You know, one of my greatest and best friends ever, lifelong friend. And Matt, it was the one that ultimately kind of started the, you know, social media content game, and he saw massive success. And everybody in the Gracie Tampa family, they call me Midget. So he's like, Midge, you got to do it. You got to do it. So I started doing it. Robbie as well. I was probably a purple belt when he came to the Gracie Tampa network. So we're all black belts under Rob Kahn. Robbie and I trained together. We worked together. I was the general manager of Rob's school, and Robbie was the head instructor. And yes, we're all very close. We've known each other for very, very long periods of time. And when something is working for one of us, we're going to share that, and hopefully the other school owners will, you know, catch on. So we work with a company called People Trendy. Kyle Crakey is the CEO. This is what they specialize in, is helping you go viral. And yeah, we're all using him. Shout out to Kyle.
Okay,
Great,
so
great
I thought maybe that was kind of through Gro Pro. I thought that was maybe something that you guys were doing.
No, Kyle's special's more in, you know, his specialty is more in going viral, which, look, you can have 35,000 followers, but how many of them are actually in your city that's going to be able to walk through the doors of your school? So what we do at Gro Pro is we focus more on local marketing. And what Kyle does is really for people that have an online product or service that you can sell. Like Matt has the Matt Arroyo online platform where people can subscribe for, you know, a small amount of money. And that's really what Kyle is great at People Trendy. What we do at Gro Pro is more based off of the local marketing game and helping schools get new students.
So I mentioned before we came on, so the listeners didn't hear. So we both own digital marketing agencies. I focus on home services. Don't let the name Black Belt Digital Marketing fool you. We do not, because of the places where we get our business from. We were just led down that home services path. I worked for a company that was mostly home services and tow companies, believe it or not. So I was never specialized in that. The name only came from my love of jiu-jitsu. But when I opened, I was in a B&I group, and I was immediately getting referrals. I was in that same group for another company, then kept the seat on my own. So just always knew that I was going to get this, but I just loved calling it Black Belt Digital Marketing. You know, I was a brown belt. Cool. So I would say I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, but I'm a black. I always have to do this, right? I'm a black belt in marketing, right? So that's kind of where it came from. So let's like, if we can dive in a little bit. I know what I do for my people. I would love to, like, we've got people that are listening to podcasts that are gym owners. A lot of times the business that we get from the podcast are somebody who does jiu-jitsu who owns some type of business. Not that it's an academy owner. Most of the time we're getting somebody that's like, hey, I own a business. Can you help me? But let's dive a little bit deeper, if we can, into how you help gyms. But I actually want to start out. I had this question, then I saw that Charlie Vinch, who is a client of yours, actually had the same question. So what is the biggest mistake that school owners are making when they first open their academies? And I know that you put out a video on this, so I've seen your answer, but I'd like to share it with everybody for those people that don't follow you yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's typically a lot of mistakes that school owners make, and if you make the first mistake, you're going to make the next two as well. So don't make the first mistake. And the first mistake is they don't get a coach. For whatever reason, you understand that you need a coach in jiu-jitsu to teach you, but the second you open your school, you choose not to get a mentor or a coach. And there are a lot of general coaching businesses out there and consultants, but I don't know about you. I like working with people that exactly know what my business is and what the business model is. And there's just no reason to reinvent the wheel. So the number one mistake that school owners make is they don't find a coach. They're not actively trying to grow their business acumen. And this is why you see this happen over and over again. Phenomenal jiu-jitsu practitioners, competitors, phenomenal teachers whose jiu-jitsu school ends up failing because they don't fall in love with the business side of things. They can never make that transition from being the technician in the business to then being the manager to then being the entrepreneur. So The first mistake is that they don't get a coach. The second mistake is that they don't reinvest their profits back into marketing. You see this all the time. A school starts to grow a little bit, and if you want to continue to grow, you need to put those profits back into marketing. The business owners that can really take it to the next level are the ones that continue to reinvest. And as a school owner, you also need to know the time periods of when you should be increasing your marketing budget, because we are seasonal. There are 3 times that the marketing budget has to increase. That's going into summer, coming out of summer, which is what we're doing right now, and going into the new year. And the reason why this is so important is because people's lives, their day-to-day are changing, right? The kids are getting out of school. It's summertime. Now they're going back in. Now it's the holidays. People like to make transitions and changes between the years. So you got to reinvest your profits into marketing, and you need to know the seasonality, because not only can you increase your enrollments during those 3 times, you can also lose a lot of students during those 3 times as well.
Yeah.
And then, finally, it's just they don't hire fast enough, and they want to do everything. And I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if they think maybe they can't afford somebody to come in and help. But if you scale the team, you'll be able to scale the business. So the schools that we see that are the most successful are the ones that go out and get a martial arts business coach, somebody that understands the martial arts. They reinvest their profits back into marketing, and then they hire. One last tip on hiring. Don't hire out the things that you love. For whatever reason, to start with, for whatever reason, you see this, a school owner's like, oh, I got to find another instructor. I got to find another instructor. It's like, dude, you love instructing. Why are you trying to go find another instructor? Why don't you go find somebody that can answer the phones and follow up with leads and do the sales, enrollment process, so you can focus on your zone of genius? I would hope that you're a pretty great instructor if you made the decision to open up a martial arts school. That's not the first thing you should outsource. It's the off-the-mat tasks that you should outsource first.
So I'm a big believer in the coach, especially for a new business. I'm a big believer in finding a coach, a business coach, not a jiu-jitsu coach, a business coach and or a mentor. How, for specifically the jiu-jitsu world, how does somebody find somebody that is specific to martial arts? I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy. If you heard me earlier, we started a nonprofit, and I'll go into details on that another day. But I've been messaging people like, I want an accountant that understands martial arts. I want a business attorney that understands martial arts. And it's been very hard for me to find like people that are very specific to those areas. How does somebody go about finding a coach? And does that just mean somebody like you who's also going to help with the marketing? Or do those people exist out there where you can pay somebody to be your martial arts coach?
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, as cheesy as this sounds, I would start on Google. You can go Google martial arts business coach and consultant, and you're going to get a list of people. But what I would prefer to do is leverage your network. If you're opening a school, you probably know other people that are opening a school. And I would find the ones that are the most successful, not the jabronis. Who's the most successful? And, success is such an interesting concept because everybody's definition of success is different, right? Some people might think a school that's doing $20,000 a month is successful. I know plenty of people that would say that's not a successful school. Some people's version of success is being able to go to the academy every single day and teach all of the classes. Other people's versions of success is, no, you know what? I just want to pop in when I want to pop in and teach the classes that I want to teach. So finding somebody whose definition of success is similar to yours and asking them, like, how did you do it? And I think having peer accountability is so important. That was one of the things that allowed Matt and my school to become so successful as quickly as we did, is we had each other. Matt is my accountability partner. So finding an accountability partner in the industry is an absolute game changer. But there are coaches out there. Here's the thing. There are many different ways to operate a successful school. My challenge to you is to go out and find somebody whose core values choose a coach or consultant whose core values are aligned with yours. Because I had to learn that the hard way. I was with a couple of other martial arts business coaches whom gave me great information, but they weren't great human beings. And it wasn't until I came across MAIA, the Martial Arts Industry Association, where I found my home. And I found them in 2015. MAIA, the Martial Arts Industry Association, is the longest standing consulting company in the industry. They're actually owned by Century Martial Arts, which is the largest retailer in the martial arts industry. And Century also owns Gameness, for those of you that, like Gameness. Yeah, I'm a huge Flow and Roll fan. We get Flow and Roll from Gracia Pac. You see me wear their spats in all my videos. But Century actually bought Gameness a few years ago. So what I think the problem is operating a jiu-jitsu school that much different than operating a taekwondo or a karate school? And I think you're going to get different answers. To me, there's a slight difference, but it's not that big of a difference. I think what the major difference is most jiu-jitsu schools are more focused on the adult program, and most traditional karate and taekwondo schools are more focused on the kids program. Now, for me, I'm 5'2", 125-pound female. I wasn't trying to scale my adult program. I grew my kids program. And I also have a background in taekwondo. And I think that taekwondo, karate, especially from the BJJ guys, oftentimes gets this rap of like, those are McDojos. They're not producing great martial artists. And it's like, look, you can have your opinion on that. They've been around longer, and they have the business operating systems that work. And regardless if they have a ton of belts and they have, children black belts at 10 years old, nobody's saying you have to do that, but the business systems that they're running can absolutely help you. MAIA has been known predominantly to work with taekwondo, karate schools. However, I came on the MAIA team back in 2019 as one of their digital marketing consultants, and we actually have BJJ consultants that are with MAIA. Matt Arroyo is a MAIA client. Charlie Vinch, who you just mentioned, is a MAIA client. And it's because people are realizing that, running a jiu-jitsu school isn't that much different than running a taekwondo and karate school. But you got to do your research. And most of the coaching companies, just like an agency, are going to offer some form of a discovery call, right? And if they don't offer a free discovery call to get to know them, it's probably not a company you want to be working with. But do your research. Go on ChatGPT if you have to and write in, like, what are the best questions I should ask a potential martial arts business coach? Grill them. And here's the thing. Most companies want to share their absolute best case studies. I know as a marketing agency, and you too, Milton, when people are like, oh, can you send me your, case studies? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna find the absolute best ones, right?
Yep.
You got to ask for the average results, right? Because there are people that are going to have, outlier level results. So you should ask, who do you work with? What kind of results have you gotten them? And do you have any proof of that? Or would you be willing to put me in contact with them? But I truly believe finding somebody whose core values align with you is one of the most important parts of choosing a jiu-jitsu business coach or mentor. Because I'll be honest, there are a few of them out there that they're kind of sleazy. You see their marketing and,
I have some opinions also, on that subject.
Yeah. Well, let's hear them.
I've recently left my academy. I'm not ready to talk about the why, but it has sparked me to start this nonprofit called Academy Safe, where we're preaching that all martial arts academies should have background checks on coaches, paid and non-paid coaches. If you're a staff member and if you're a coach and you're on the mat with especially kids, you should have a background check. We want everybody to do the Safe Sport certification through Safe Sport USA. That's just the beginning. We're also going to get into like what other things make an academy safe. I had a heart attack when I was 43. Like, I want to see a defibrillator. I want to know that staff is certified in CPR and first aid. So like we're also going to get into those things. But let me just say, without getting into details on why I left my academy, a black belt does not make you a good person, right? 100%. A black belt doesn't make you a good business person. It doesn't make you a good person. Being a good person makes you a good person. And that's a big part of why I left, and we'll be talking about it more. We have a podcast. I have a podcast scheduled with somebody else to kind of give everybody the details of. It goes into a little further, but it's very difficult. Like you talked about, aligning with other people that that have similar views, and that's the best way to find a mentor or a coach. You can't be polar opposites. You've got to find some middle ground and some things that you agree on. But yeah, definitely. As far as scuzzballs in this world, for lack of a better term, they exist everywhere, and one of our missions is going to be to try to weed that out a little bit. We're never going to be able to clean up martial arts 100%, but it's certainly something that I want to focus on as as a jiu-jitsu practitioner and somebody who loves this world. But going back to, like, you were Gracia Pac MMA, right? Your logo was Gracia Pac MMA. How important do you think it is these days, with like the rise of just MMA and Bellator, UFC, Invicta? I'm watching a lot of One Championship now. How important do you think it is to, as a academy owner, start with jiu-jitsu, to offer like all things martial arts? To truly be. I started at an academy where we called it MMA class. We didn't do necessarily karate. It was like more Muay Thai classes, but Tuesday, Thursday was our MMA class. 1 hour of stand-up, and then 1 hour of sparring with groundwork, with then introducing jiu-jitsu. So start on your feet, small gloves, takedowns, How important is it these days to offer all things martial arts?
Yeah, I mean, can you be a successful jiu-jitsu school just offering jiu-jitsu? Sure. But for me as a martial artist, and, at the core, we are learning martial arts to learn how to defend ourselves. Sure. As an instructor, I want to make sure that my students can defend themselves in any scenario, whether it's on the feet, whether it's from a distance, whether it's close, whether it goes to the ground. And I do think that you are doing a disservice to your students if you don't teach them how to protect themselves in all of those different areas. So from like a philosophical standpoint, that's the reason, I also started in Taekwondo and learned kickboxing, and I did Bang Muay Thai for a while, and I've done an MMA fight. So you got to learn some wrestling and some jiu-jitsu. So my background was mixed martial arts, right? I mean, I learned different styles of martial arts, put them together. There's your mixed martial arts. From a business standpoint, it is very smart to offer multiple styles, because multiple styles means you have multiple services that you can offer. It's an upgrade. Every successful business model has upgrades. When you go through the drive-thru at McDonald's and they ask you, do you want fries with that? That is an upgrade. When you buy a plane ticket and you choose your seat, do you want more leg room or not? That is an upgrade. When you buy a car, do you want heated seats or do you want regular seats? That is an upgrade. Every successful business model has upgrades. And having multiple styles makes it very easy to add in those upgrades and upsells. You can still do it with jiu-jitsu. For example, you could offer just gi. You could then offer no gi. You could offer competition training. So it's not impossible. The other aspect from the business standpoint, and I hope people aren't listening thinking like Chris is all about like money, and like, guys, I'm a coach and a consultant. And when people hire me, they hire me to make their school more successful. And for whatever reason, there's this like thing about martial arts schools making money. You're a McDojo if you make, like, dude, I've been in the martial arts for 30 years. I should make a great living. If somebody spends 10 years to get a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, that's the same length it would take you to become a lawyer or a doctor. You should be making that same amount of money, but you have to have good business practices in place. And the benefit of offering styles like striking is that one of the profit centers in your martial arts school, there's only 5, one of them is selling merchandise. And when you do striking, you can sell headgears and mouthpiece and gloves and shin guards. When you start adding additional services like no-gi, you now have that as an additional profit center. And I'm not saying here you should be gouging your students and jacking the prices up. But anytime anybody starts a sport or a hobby, there is an expectation that there are going to be expenses of equipment that is involved in that. So from a philosophical standpoint, that I want all my students to know how to defend themselves, yes, I do believe you should. You know, I think it can be difficult if you as the owner are not well versed in those styles, and it could be scary potentially bringing in somebody else to teach that, because you hear it all the time. Somebody comes in, they start teaching classes, they eventually want to go open up their own school. There was nothing in writing, no non-solicitation. Non-competes aren't going to hold up in court. They're actually getting ready to just get rid of them across the nation. But non-solicitations will. And all a non-solicitation says is, hey, you can't solicit my students to go to your school. And I mean, everybody should be willing to sign that if they're a good human being.
Unlock the power of your online presence with Black Belt Digital Marketing. Their reputation management program ensures your Google business profile seen by more potential customers. Black Belt Digital Marketing is your full-service digital marketing agency specializing in local SEO and reputation management. Boost your business today. Visit bbdigitalmarketing.com. Your success is their priority.
Special thank you to the crew over at Flow and Roll for all their support. Flow and Roll is renowned for their incredible no-gi rash guards, shorts, and leggings. Flow and Roll has quickly become the premier custom apparel provider for academies big and small throughout the United States. Reach out today to discuss your custom order and ask about their incredible pre-order program. You can send an email to flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their Instagram at flow_n_roll and shoot them a direct message. And yes, they can create an awesome custom gi for your academy as well. Visit flowandroll.com to check out their awesome designs, and while you're there, pick up a Jiu Jitsu Dummy signature tee exclusively at flowandroll.com. And remember, you'll get 20% off your purchase of t-shirts, rash guards, or gis with code JJD.
So I think that can be a little bit scary, you know, bringing somebody in to teach that program, and then you develop a student base, and then what happens if that person leaves? Which it's why it's so important that you offer things like instructor training, and you're constantly building your bench strength in case that person does leave. But in today's world, I want my students to know how to defend themselves. I think it's also really great for retention when a student maybe gets a little burned out from jiu-jitsu, having the ability to go to the striking class. Also, jiu-jitsu, man, it's a slow burn. You'll have students that start in jiu-jitsu that they don't get to a dominant position for like 6 months. It's not instant gratification. And striking, hitting something, punching something, that is instant gratification. It's why you see the Mayweather boxing gyms, the title boxing gyms, the I Love Kickboxing. You know, those fitness kickboxing type gyms have exploded over the years because it's great stress relief to punch and hit something. And, oh, cool, I don't even have to worry about getting hit back in the face. So that was my very long-winded answer of yes, I do think martial arts schools should offer multiple styles.
I was at an academy where it said on the window, it said karate, wrestling, kickboxing. We only did jiu-jitsu. It had the sticker. And when I talked to him about, like we were talking a little bit, he actually wanted me to take phone calls for the academy. And I was like, I don't know that we can do the sale for you. I said, well, what
Gro
do you
Pro
say?
Yeah, you go.
There you go.
In case anybody wants.
Don't work with my old gym, though, please. I'm going to give you his name. Do not work with them.
Won't.
So he would say, like, if somebody called and asked, I said, what do you say when somebody asks, like, you know, what time is the karate class? He would just say, yeah, you know, yes, we offer karate. Just come in. Like, he would get them through the door to do, like, the tour. And then it's just jiu-jitsu. I do understand. I'm not saying that it was right, but I did understand the methodology that most people that are asking for karate don't know what they're asking for.
They don't know.
You know, when a mom or a dad or, you know, somebody just like looking to get into martial arts, they say karate, but they don't know what they necessarily want. And although jiu-jitsu is like this, also this verb of, right, like we say, you know, like mental jiu-jitsu or verbal jiu-jitsu, right? It's become this thing. Like not everybody truly understands that part of it either. So I understood his methodology. I didn't think it was smart to do because I figure I'd rather not piss anybody off than have somebody come waste
It's a
their
little
time.
bait and
Yeah.
switch, right?
Yeah, then it's just like, hey, we just do jiu-jitsu. But with that, I want to go to our next question. This is from Stay Strong BJJ out of New Jersey. Again, this might be somebody that you know. So it says, as a gym owner, please explain your saying, quote unquote, math is the path. And he says he loves your content as well. And he's got a second question that we'll follow up with as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So math is the path. Look, if you want to get better at anything in your life, whether it's your finances, whether it's your fitness, even your jujitsu, you need to track it. And in your business specifically, because I do a lot of business coaching and consulting, you should be making data-driven decisions, not emotional or this is like my gut instinct. Show me the numbers, because the numbers are going to tell you a story in your business. This happens all the time, right? We'll have a school come to us and like, oh, we just, we need more leads. We need more leads. And it's like, okay, well, show me your number of leads. Then show me how many do you convert into an appointment, how many show, and then how many close. And they'll have like 100 leads that come in, but only book 10 of them. And it's like, I don't think you have a lead problem. I think you have a lead follow-up problem. But unless you are tracking those numbers, you're not going to know, and you're just going to guess. And, there is a law of numbers to understand in a business, especially as a business grows. And this would happen with my program director at Gracia Pac. We'd be in a level 10 meeting, and she'd say, yeah, all the parents are saying this. And I'm like, all the parents? Who? And she'd say 2 names. And it's like, we have 250 children students. That 2 out of 250, that's like not even 1%. So numbers tell us a story. And the business owners that go from good to great know their numbers. You know your numbers, you know your business. And I've just seen, not only in my finances, but also in my fitness, that anytime I get, and also time management, anytime I get really serious about tracking everything, whether that's you step on the scale every single morning. Want to lose weight? That's a really great thing to do. Step on the scale and track it. Or with budgeting your finances. Want to be better? Check your bank statement every single day and see what's coming out and what's coming in. Want to be better with your time? Do a time tracking analysis where every 15 minutes you're writing down what you're doing. I bet you're going to realize that you're probably messing around a lot more than you think you are. So numbers tell us a story, and I just think it's so imperative for business owners to know their numbers, and you don't see this very often in the jiu-jitsu world or in the martial arts world. And it's interesting because hopefully if you're a school owner, you're using a CRM, a customer relationship management platform. This is how you're able to contact all your students. You host all your data. You can do attendance with it. And you can, charge them. And it keeps a lot of these statistics inside of it for you. If you're not using a CRM, which to me, it's like, how would somebody operate a business without using it? Believe it or not, there's a lot of people that are just billing people through QuickBooks and keeping contact information on a spreadsheet. And, they're sending like blast emails through Gmail or like group text messages. And
when you see like they didn't BCC all the emails, and
right?
You get every single email.
Every single one.
I've done a lot of sales in my life, and anytime somebody gave me their entire list like that, I would copy it. Now it's my list. That was back in the day, not now, but I do see that every once in a while still.
Yeah. So I just, I've worked with so many school owners that within a 5-minute conversation of us talking about their numbers, I could pretty much tell you how successful they are or not. So math is the path. You want to make data-driven decisions.
I just had a conversation with a dentist. I have a group of dentists that do really well in our program. And this one particular dentist, he's been on with us for 2 years. So we're in his second summer with us. And for dentists, it falls off in June and July. Kids are going away. Mom and dad, everybody's on vacation. We're traveling. It's summer. They dip. And so far now, 2 years in a row, we've talked about it. Look, if you Google it, when is the slowest time for a dentist? It's going to be in the summer. So what we had him do was look at his math. And I said, don't judge this month and last month. I want you to look year over year. you only do marketing with us. You do nothing else but the marketing with us. Google ads. There's also local service ads available for dentists, but it's like ridiculous, like $100+ per call down here in South Florida. So we're doing Google ads. We're doing reputation management. This is the only thing he's doing. So I can see I can see his charts. Everything is always going up. And I said, you need to look at not month over month, but now you need to start looking year over year. Are you busier this year than you were last year? But you have to remember, we're going to have this conversation every summer. You have to know that you're going into your slow time. We did get him to increase his Google ad budget. So we doubled his Google ad budget. I said, this is what we should be doing every summer. But look at the year over year, not just month over month. I guess like when you feel like, yeah, you might not be as busy this month as you were last month. It's the summer. But let's compare to last year. And I know those numbers are better than last year. So, I've got to preach it to, a different group of people, but it's always harder because we have so many owner operators, like the roofer is on the roof talking to us like, hey, what's going on with the call? Like the painter, he's just like, I'm painting right now. Can you call me back? Right? I mean, literally have like 1-2 person operations. I'm sure you have that, in the martial arts world as well. But sometimes it's so hard to get them to understand certain things. So we really try to come in, like we give them everything and like, we're just, don't worry about this side. We open up a text messaging chat with everybody. So like you can text us. We won't bother you. Like text us when you need something. We're going to text you when we need something. Because I don't want you answering the phone on the roof. So we're not going to bother you. So like we have certain processes in place so that they can really communicate with us on their time. And I do give them, I don't expect it of my staff, but I'm in every chat with every single client that we have. And I tell them I'm available 24/7. So that makes it super comfortable for them to then like, you can send me a message after hours. I know you're busy during the day. So we do things like that. But back to the math is the path. Like I have to remind them of that. And it's usually like, again, a conversation about looking at year over year or look at every 6 months. Don't just look at the last 7 days. The phone hasn't been ringing. Well, let's compare it to, let's look at a larger a period of time and go from there and make some decisions based on that. So Stay Strong BJJ, the same person who asked about the math is the path, he said, do you prefer Facebook ads or Google ads?
Both. Life is better with options. And you just have to understand, right? You just have to understand the different types of marketing they are. So Facebook ads is interest-based marketing. Google ads is intent-based marketing. I kind of look at Facebook as my future buyers, and I look at Google as my today buyers. What do you want? Do you want future buyers? You want today buyers? I want both. And the way that Facebook ads, the only way that Facebook ads are going to work for a martial arts school is you have to understand the interest-based marketing aspect, that these are not people that are actively searching for jujitsu or martial arts on Facebook. We're creating audiences of people that we think might be interested, that are close enough to come to our facility, and we're putting an ad in front of them. And Facebook has, the algorithm changes all the time, but right now, Facebook wants people to stay on Facebook. And that means they're really prioritizing something called lead forms, which basically a little pop-up comes up. Your information is pre-filled out. And some people's information is no longer accurate. The phone number that they signed up, that they had when they signed up, the email. So the key when you're doing Facebook lead forms is you've got to ask additional qualifying questions that require people to actually type in. The more qualifying questions, the more customer friction that you're adding, which in the Facebook world, this is a good thing because it's going to ensure that a good quality lead comes in. Now, the other part about Facebook ads, if you want to make it successful, is fortune is in the follow-up. And in the marketing, advertising, like the online game, speed to lead is imperative. When a lead comes in, you have to follow up with that lead immediately. I mean, I want them to hit enter and their phone is already ringing. But what often happens is a school owner gets a lead. And I mean, this is every business, not just martial arts schools, but they get the lead and they're like, oh, okay, let me call. They call, they don't connect. And then the lead goes into the black hole of leads that never get followed up with again. And if you look at other successful industries outside of the martial arts that have scaled big, they have teams of appointment setters and salespeople that all they do is make phone calls. It's the reason why Gro Pro Agency is the largest digital marketing agency for martial arts schools. is because I scaled my team first. I literally have somebody on payroll that all he does is follow up with leads 8 hours a day. What do you think our sales calendar looks like then? It's full, right? Now, can you do that in a martial arts school? No. But what you can do is, can you take 30 minutes to an hour on a daily basis to focus on lead follow-up? Yes, you can. And that is why a lot of people think Facebook ads don't work. It's just they not understanding where the prospect is in the buying cycle. They are not actively searching for martial arts near me, which is what a Google lead does. So a Google lead is your today buyer. They are typing martial arts in Tampa or jiu-jitsu near me. But the thing with those leads is they're more expensive. Why are they more expensive? Because it's a higher quality. So with Facebook, I kind of look at it like having a big dump truck worth of dirt that has been laid at my feet. And there's gold nuggets in there, but I got to go digging. And that's hitting the phones over and over again. And Google, it's not going to take as much effort, but what it is going to take, it's going to take more money, because everybody wants those Google leads, because those are the today buyers. So my answer is both.
My analogy for those, I call it Google's fishing with a hook, Facebook is fishing with a net. And
100%.
So I know for me with home services, it's the same, it's kind of the same thing. But with the local service ads available for home service companies, and even, right, you've got Google Guaranteed and screen side, so professional service and home services. So I'm usually saying, okay, Google ads, local service ads, and then social media, because there are these two products that work. They've opened up a lot. They
don't have local service ads for martial arts schools.
Not yet. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. They have, like, again, I'm keeping an eye on dentists, but my dentists, the ones that I have down here in South Florida, it's 100. I think it's like 112 on the low end in Miami. It's just not, like, nobody wants to pay that. That's, especially if they're already getting activity from, from just regular Google ads and reputation management, but it's super difficult. But okay, let's move on to our next question. So this is Kodiak Combat Collective. Again, I'm not sure if this is a client. I'm not sure if people that were following you were asking a lot of these questions. Anything related, he wanted us to talk about anything related to someone trying to get an academy started. So he's like, making connections, which we covered, and then getting BJJ specific marketing data. We talked about mentors as well. Those were the 3 or 4 things that he asked about. But let's talk about jiu-jitsu specific data. How are you helping people in that regard? And also, you talked about following up with people for your leads. Am I mistaken? Do you also help and book for clients if they need that service as well?
Yeah, we built a call center.
Okay.
I'm crazy, man. I'm crazy. U.S.-based in-office callers. I'm not, outsourcing to Pakistan or the Philippines, but it was the #1 requested service we had. And look, I could generate you hundreds of leads in your school, and I can use automations to follow up. And heck, we even built a Budo booking bot. We have an AI booking appointment setter that can book the appointments for you. But you got to be picking up the phone, because they're not just checking you out, they're checking your competitor out. And if the competitor calls and you don't, your competitor's going to win. And it was such a huge obstacle getting school owners to pick up the phone and call. And a lot of school owners don't get to their school until right before class starts, which is crazy to me. I mean, when I opened Gracia Pac, I was there at 9 o'clock in the morning. I treated it like 9 to 5 is the business, and then 5 o'clock is prime time when I'm in the business, right? I'm working on the business from 9 to 5 and then in the business from 5 to 9. And it's a grind, guys. Like, you better have a passion for jiu-jitsu, but you have to develop a passion for business if you truly don't want to have to be the one to do everything. And I get it when you're first starting. Oh, I love teaching. I'm going to teach every class. Okay, well, do that for 3 years. Then do that for 5 years. Then start wanting to start a family and getting married and having kids, and your kids have extracurricular activities, and you never get to eat dinner with your family because you're at the academy. Like, doing all those classes is eventually going to burn you out, and it's eventually going to get old. So you have to love the grind, and you have to be just as passionate, or learn how to become just as passionate on the business side. But in terms of like, figuring out a market, there are very saturated markets. There's a great book called Blue Ocean Strategy. And, for especially like someone like Milton down in Miami and even me in Tampa, like there's not just a crap ton of jiu-jitsu schools. There is a crap ton of martial arts schools. Now, that's something you need to consider when you are going into a new town. If there's a lot of martial arts schools, that's actually a good sign, because that means that, hey, there's probably a lot of people and it's a big enough demographic for us to go in, but you're also going to have more competition, right? Especially with online marketing, because it's an auction. The more people that are advertising, and it's not just martial arts schools, it's anybody that's vying for the attention of that audience, the more expensive it's going to be. The other thing that you have to consider is when you choose a spot, there's kind of two ways you can go about it. There is the grocery anchored store, which typically has a very, very high rent. However, it has a lot of foot traffic. And because you get a lot of foot traffic, your potential other marketing dollars don't have to be as much. So you can go that route. And this is very popular in a lot of the martial arts licensing and franchise companies that are out there. They teach these, licensees or franchisees to go out and anchor to a grocery store. So like in Florida, Publix is like the best grocery store. If you've never had a pub sub, you got to go get a pub sub.
Right.
But if you go that route, you're not going to get a huge space, which you really don't need. I think that is such a big mistake that so many school owners make is, they want 3, 4, 5,000 square feet. I started in 1,000 square feet and built my school up to $10,000 a month with very, very minimal expenses. And I actually think that's one of the best ways to start is by subleasing in a gym. That's how I got started. It's how Rob Kahn got started. I sublet a Zumba room. They were teaching Zumba. They got rid of the Zumba, and I put my jiu-jitsu school in there. My rent was like not even $1,000. I didn't have to pay electricity. I didn't have to pay, for cleaning. I didn't have to clean any of the bathrooms. I didn't have to pay for internet. Like, it was one of the best setups. And I think in the beginning, we want everything to be perfect. And, I see schools like investing $50, $60, $70, $100,000 or more. It's not necessary. With 10 grand, you can start a jiu-jitsu school. Your biggest expense besides your first and last month of rent, right? You'll probably have like a deposit you have to put down, and then landlords are going to ask first month and last month rent. Your biggest expense is going to be mats, right? I mean, if you had a building and you had mats and electricity, like, you could be up and running in no time. So that's a couple of ideas in terms of like if you wanted to do grocery anchored store, or you could go the more industrial park, which is actually what Gracia Pac is in now. It's in a 5,000 square foot industrial park. When I signed the lease, there was an air hedge trampoline arena right next door, which was a great attractor. And there was also a dance studio right next door. So I still had like some foot traffic, but because it's in an industrial park and not a retail space, I think when I first signed the lease, it was 5,000 square foot. I was paying $5 grand a month. It was like $10 a square foot, which is unheard of in Tampa, Florida. When you start looking at grocery anchored stores, you're talking $30, $35, $40 a square foot, and they're usually triple net. And that's important to understand when you're negotiating a lease. A triple net means if the property taxes go up, your payments are going to go up as well, versus if you were able to sign like a gross modified lease, the landlord's, expenses might be going up, but it's not going to affect your rent. So, those are a couple of things to consider when you are getting started in the market. But I do believe, depending on what your rent is, for $10,000 to $15,000, you can open up a school, because it's just that first and last month rent as well as the mats. Those are your main expenses.
Okay. So we have our last listener question. This is a friend of the show, John Way from John Way Martial Arts. He's a Kung Fu Sifu. He's a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu.
Love John.
He says, do you know John as well?
Mm-hmm.
awesome guy. I just spoke to him the other day about Academy Safe, and he liked the idea. So I love, one of the things that the podcast has done for us is kind of the relationships that we have, like able to run ideas by people. Like, would this work? What do you think about this? Either having them come on the show talking about it, or just being able to run ideas past people. So it's been really cool. And he's one of those people that I like to do that with. He wants to know, he says, where do you see the business landscape for BJJ academies evolving in the next several years? Now, this kind of might go hand in hand with maybe my question before about the MMA side of things, but I'll let you answer.
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu is just getting even more popular. And I got to be honest with you, like I, reminisce about the late 90s and early 2000s where not a lot of people knew jiu-jitsu. There weren't a billion different types of guards and, submissions and positions. It's like we had closed guard, open guard, and half guard back then, and now there's a million different types of guards. But it's becoming more popular. You see major celebrities out there that are training and competing. Tom Hardy, Mario Lopez, Dave Bautista. You've got major influencers out there. Jocko Willink, Tim Kennedy, Cody Sanchez pushing BJJ. It's only going to continue to get more popular. And, Milton, I really love this Safe Academy concept because when you think about what is the requirement of opening a martial arts school, there is none.
There's
nothing. And we ran background checks since day one on all of our coaches, whether you're working with the kids, whether you're working with the adults. We did CPR training for all of our coaches as well. And it's just so interesting that you don't need anything in order to open up a martial arts school. I mean, you could order your black belt literally online if you wanted to and make up a story. And there are people that have done that. One of the things I'm a little concerned about, and, I'm not in the tournament competition scene nearly as much. When I first opened Gracia Pac and when I was teaching the kids program at Rob Kahn's school, I went to every freaking tournament. I was actually the tournament director for Grappler's Quest, which for my old school jiu-jitsu people, about Grappler's Quest. Them and Naga were like the two main big tournaments in the early 2000s. And I traveled all over the United States, and I even competed in Turkey on Team USA. So competition was a really, really big part of my life, in my late teenage years and early 20s. And when I decided to open up Gracia Pac, personally, I stopped competing. I shifted my focus on building the business and building the team. But we still competed a lot as a team. And as you know, Florida is a mecca of jiu-jitsu. There are freaking tournaments every single weekend, every weekend.
Yes.
And, you have families and kids and parents that are really big into that culture that want to go out and compete. And coach, can you come out? And it's like, it's not fair to my coaches to ask them every single weekend to go out and, spend an entire day. And then you're just dead tired because you're there all day. You're screaming. It's hot. It's this hurry up and wait thing. It's not fair to the coaches to ask them to do that. So we had to make a new rule that as a team, we're going to compete in one tournament a quarter, and we will send a coaching staff out. And if you want to do additional tournaments, you're welcome to do it, but we can't guarantee a coach. And it's just because there's literally a tournament in Florida every single weekend. But one of the major shifts that I have seen that makes me slightly concerned is how social media is affecting the younger jiu-jitsu athletes. I mean, I'm getting targeted by 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old social media pages of these kids that are competing. And I'm really curious to see how that's going to affect a long-term martial arts journey and their mental health. I've got a 4-year-old, and, I was born in 1985. So I was fortunate to have like an analog childhood of riding your bike and playing basketball. And when the street lights come in, we went inside. But then, I did have a computer in my bedroom as a teenager, and, texting was starting and MySpace was starting. And I can't imagine being in high school now and having to deal with the pressures of social media. And it just is slightly concerning to me that 8-year-old is not the one that is running the Facebook ads. That's the parent that is living vicariously through their child. And You know, you just see this often, especially in the kids' BJJ world, of especially dads living vicariously, living their glory days of when they were an athlete, and trying to impress that upon their kid. And I don't know, it's just when I saw that, when I got targeted for like a 10-year-old fan page on BJJ, I'm like, what in the world? And look, I get it. They can be influencers. They can get sponsors. That is an actual financial revenue stream that they can build. But it's just, I don't know. It's a little weird to me. What do you think? I'm curious.
So I'll answer it like this. I just sent a whole like a gift pack to a competitor. So we have a lot of kids that follow the show. In the beginning, I've had kids on I've had a few kids on the show, younger competitors. So in the last month, I sent out a whole pack of we do most of our stuff with Flow and Roll whenever we can. So we sent out some rash guards that we did, shorts, whole no-gi sets, T-shirts, sent them a pair of Leo Optics glasses. And the kid is, I think he's like 12, 13. And I could see, I could immediately tell when I'm conversating with somebody that it's probably the parent, which I'm still fine with, but the kid was like tagging us in a lot of stuff, and I'd repost. So like if kids tag us in their stuff, I'll sometimes I'll repost. But what happens is when you do it for one, then you get a whole bunch of other, he posted that he got our package, and then I'm getting more, I get more people asking, or younger kids asking, and I feel bad to say no. One of the things that happened is our relationship, Flow and Roll's been with us since the very beginning of the podcast. Episode 1, we were giving away T-shirts like we do now. We'll give a T-shirt or a mug to a listener whose question we've used on the show. So we were working with Flow and Roll from the very beginning. So most of the time I'd get gear, and I was like, I'd send it out. But then I started to say, wait, you get the client. I'm going to send them to you. Let them go to your website. Now they get into your system, and like they're yours, and send it out. So we've done all of that. But Sean has this huge presence. Flow and Roll has this huge presence within that the kids tournament system, Jits Kings, and some of the some of the smaller you're right, some of the smaller tournaments up there. And so he had a huge kids following. So that transferred to us when we were doing the podcast. So we've had that from the beginning. We do not very. I can't say it's called Jiu-Jitsu Dummies. We love to have fun with it. I started this with 5 training partners when I first did it. So it was like a round table, but we'd curse, and sometimes we'd be like, oh, wait, there's kids listening. Like we had to be a little careful. So now kind of I don't really necessarily have a filter, but we're not, cursing like sailors. So we've had that follow over. As far as the concern about social media, I think it's just a grander conversation about it's affecting kids, period. I mean,
Sure.
Look at the news, watch the news for a week, and you're going to see a kid got, bullied, cyberbullied, and commit suicide. So I think it's horrible. I had a question loading for you, which is, as somebody who has a 4-year-old, when will you allow them to get on social media, and do they train? So I'm going to toss that back to you and then finish my answer.
Yeah, Cruz is 4, and maybe the pitchforks are going to come out, but I am starting him at a Taekwondo school.
Okay.
So he started his Taekwondo journey a few months ago, right when he turned 4. We'll do Gracie games and stuff like that at home. We've got mats that we can roll out, but I do believe at that age group, out of all of the martial arts, a good Taekwondo school is kind of the best place to start.
Yeah.
He will eventually do jiu-jitsu. The rule in our house, because I have 2 older sons, as long as you live under this roof, you are going to train martial arts.
Sure.
I look at it as a life skill. We live in Florida. You better know how to defend yourself, and you better know how to swim. Those are life skills, right?
Sure.
So regardless if you enjoy it, doesn't really matter. You're going to do it. That's just my mindset with it. You can do other sports. You can do other activities. If you want to do music lessons, that's fine. But this will always be a staple until you move out of the house. And that hadn't been an issue. Both of my older sons are purple belts in jiu-jitsu, but Cruz does train in Taekwondo now. And when I first posted the picture of him at a Taekwondo school, I got all these DMs like, what? He's not training a Gracie Pac? It's like, he's 4. We have time for that. And I do believe that around the age of 8 is it's like a perfect time period to introduce jiu-jitsu to kids. Not saying you can't. I mean, we have 3 and 4-year-old classes, but I also started in Taekwondo, so I wanted my son to kind of follow my footsteps and learning Taekwondo and then Jiu-Jitsu.
How about the older boys? You said you have 2 older boys. Did you do the same thing? Did they start with the Taekwondo or karate base and then move into Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, so those are my bonus sons. I came into their life when they were 15 and 11, and I had actually only had the school for about a year. So once I came into their life and started dating their mother, it was, okay, this is now a non-negotiable. So they started, they've done jujitsu since then, they compete, and one of them still lives under our roof. So he actually still works at the academy. Both of them worked at the academy. And the other one works here at Gro Pro with me. So family, we've always had a family business together.
A lot of similarities. My daughter works for my company. She's 30. My daughter and her fiance both work for the company. They're both in their early 30s. They were both teachers. They both hate teaching. It's just like, it's miserable now. It's just like it's gone just off the rails with between the kids and the phones, and then the parents are just super incredibly difficult. Little Johnny never does anything wrong, right? Yeah. The support, the financial support for the classes, and it's just they were both miserable. My son-in-law is just finishing up he did not re-up his contract in Virginia for his school, teaching high school. He is currently teaching summer school at a college. He teaches a summer school class. And as soon as he's done, that's it. He's done with teaching, and he's a full-time salesperson for the company. We've already been integrating him in, and he's been, he actually got his first 2 sales this month in July.
That's awesome.
So we just started him. Same thing, same business model, get him in BNI, get the referrals, and then he just started getting sales after 60 days in BNI. So
sales is the number one skill. As the number one skill you can learn. I mean, you can literally write your own paycheck. But to go back to your question about the social media, I think as parents, we're in an interesting, kind of predicament because technology is here. It's here to stay. All future careers, some of them are going to be gone because of AI, but there's going to have to be people that know how to program the AI and work with the AI. So it might take away jobs, but it's also going to build new jobs. So I think if you try and, completely take away tech and social media in general, that it could actually end up hurting. But, for now, our kind of thought process is our older kids, they didn't get a cell phone until they could drive, which in the state of Florida is 16. So my thought is, once you get the cell phone and you can start driving, if you want to choose to have social media profiles, that's fine. But I think where the big mistake that parents make are allowing kids, and a 16-year-old to me is still a kid, you're not an adult yet, allowing them to have access to their phone in their room with the door shut. And that is a rule that we will not have. Your phone's going to need to stay out in the living room when you go to bed, because I think that's where a lot of that, depressive state can go. It's that doom and scroll that happens in this constant comparison game. And if you're by yourself in your bedroom, you can get in a pretty deep rabbit hole. So I'd rather be able to have them do that, around us so that they're not alone if something does happen. But who knows? That could change, right? Yeah. It's going to be 12 years before Cruz is 16. I'm just glad I don't have to worry about it right now.
Did you have pushback from the older kids about not having devices? My friends have a device. What, did you get a lot of that? I'm sure. No?
Actually, no. We have two very fortunate, 2 very awesome kids. And, they both got iPhones when they, started to get a car and to drive. And I think they were just so excited that they got a car and they got to drive. It was like, oh, well, the phone's cool too, but I got the freedom of driving. So we have very respectful boys. And, I think that them training in the martial arts played a huge role into, having that level of respect, not just, to us as their parents, but to, other people. My son, Nate, is always yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. And you don't see this a lot in jiu-jitsu schools. And this was a requirement in our kids' program. It's not, at first I used to require them to say yes, coach, no, coach. And I got to thinking, that doesn't translate to any other areas of their life. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir does translate. And, my son, Nate, he'll be in the grocery line and, he's talking to the cashier. Yes, sir. No, sir. And they're like, oh, are you in the military? Like, no, sir, I've just trained martial arts. So, I think that them, growing up in their teenage years in that definitely helped.
So I'll go back to finishing my answer on the social media side of things. So, I tell people, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm, running businesses, and usually, you run a business, you start social media, I would not have social media if I was not in this world. I've got to do it for the podcast. And I enjoy it. I think it's fun. It's funny. And, I like to have fun with it. Like to have fun with everything that I do. I think, it needs its limitations for kids. You need to be able to say, put the phone down, or you can have this many hours. You can be on I know for at least an iPhone, right? I can limit the amount of time that they're on the internet. My stepdaughter used to come running to us and be like, can I get another hour? I got to do this thing. And we'd have to go into the phone and she wound up being number 8 in her class when she graduated high school. So it was awesome. We always knew she was at the top. So we were able to let her get away with it. We actually used to argue with her to take breaks from doing schoolwork. She would lock herself in the room and read books and do schoolwork and be like, you need to take a break. Because sometimes we would see that it was getting the best of her. But with social media, I think putting the limitations. The thing is, the problem with somebody who tries to put limitations on social media for somebody and they don't have an outlet like martial arts. I thought this is where you were going when you said but then he also had martial arts and it taught them respect. If they don't have this place where they can be social, right? If you just have a kid that you say you only have 2 hours of internet every night, what are they going to do? They're going to maybe wind up watching TV, or they wind up doing, maybe going out and doing things that they shouldn't be doing. But if you put limitations on the social media, but you're replacing a good hour plus a day with something with discipline like the martial arts, they're also getting their social bucket filled, right? They're getting that, They're socializing, right? That socialization skill is still there, where when you don't have it and you have the phone, they're learning how to socialize online, and you're socializing with people that you know. How many people follow you that you actually know, that you actually have over for dinner, or would say, let's go have a drink, or let me buy you some dinner, right? I've got, I don't even know, whatever amount of followers on Facebook. I don't know. These are people from high school that I don't talk to. There are people that just are within this community, and you got to have it. It's a necessary evil. But I don't know these people. My closest friends are going to text me and say, hey, they're not getting to me through Instagram and saying, let's go to dinner. They're going to send me a text, hey, let's go get a drink, or let's get a bite to eat. But if you don't fill that, if you put limitations on social media, or you don't give them a phone until X8, you better be filling that with something else. And the martial arts comes into play. Huge fan of it. I have a 30-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old stepdaughter. Nobody did martial arts. And I didn't. I did a little bit of martial arts and Taekwondo when I was a kid, but really got into jiu-jitsu in my 40s. And, raising kids, I wasn't, I wasn't with my biological daughter's mother. So there was no push. I wasn't doing it myself. So it wasn't get into martial arts. Now I preach it. She works for the company. And I'm like, you should really learn martial arts. I'm pushing my son-in-law. I'm like, how are you going to protect my daughter if something happens? What are you going to, so now I'm in his ear about that. I know I'll get them into an academy or get them somewhere, but without replacing it, you're really just wind up, it's like yelling into a void. Don't do this, but you're not replacing it with something else like martial arts, which I think is key if you want to keep them off of social media. And then honestly, you get them tired out on the mat, and then it's easier for them to not want to be get home and now I'm going to spend out, right? They want to go home, do their homework, if that, take a shower, and they're tired and they want to be in bed or in front of the TV and fall asleep. So I think that's the way it can go. I don't think I think it's very difficult to do what you did and not give them a phone to 16. I know that people will hear that and be like, how did you do that? And they didn't complain. I think most people will give up and say, here, just give them a phone already, right? I think a lot of parents will opt to do that versus, hearing somebody complain. But I don't know. I mean, I don't plan on having any kids, so any more kids. So I don't know how it would be now, but I know me, I would not have social media if it wasn't for the things that I do. I just think it's this hole that you could fall into. I love the funny videos and I love to laugh, but I do find myself doing that. You could scroll and all of a sudden it's an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you're like, what did I just do for the like I could be doing so many more things that are productive.
I know. The very first time I ever logged in on TikTok, I drove up to my office building. I'm sitting in the parking lot and I'm like, oh, let me just check out this TikTok. I hit it. I look up and literally 2 hours have gone by. And I was like, I can't be on this platform. So I do have somebody posting on me for TikTok, but I'm not actively on there. But, this experience of having viral videos of, going from 5,000 to I think I'm almost at 35,000, which I mean is really peanuts compared to, Matt Arroyo. I think he's got 500,000 followers, right? He's been doing it, longer than me, but even going from 5,000 to 15 to 20 to 25, if you don't have tough skin, it's not a game that you should be in. And look, I know that I don't present as the normal female. I don't look like a normal female. I don't sound like a normal female, but I was not mentally prepared. I knew it was going to happen, but I wasn't mentally prepared for it to happen, where the comments just started rolling in about, why do you sound like that? Are you a man? Are you a, woman? Are you trans? What's wrong with your voice? And you have to be in a very specific mindset to be able to deal with that. And I had to really put limitations on, when am I going to go and open up my social media profile? Because we'll all do it. We'll be in the line at the grocery store and like, all right, just pull out my phone and start scrolling. And it's like, if I did that and I wasn't mentally prepared to see these nasty comments, it would immediately put me in a very depressed state and mood. So I had to be very conscious of, okay, you're going to open it up. You're going to get a ton of new followers. You're going to get a ton of comments. You just know it, so be mentally prepared. So I really had to put limitations on when I would, because in the past, I'm not proud to say, stuck at a red light. It's like, okay, let me just look. And it's like, I can't do that anymore. And
what about the whole like post and ghost? Like Joe Rogan says, like post and ghost. I know as somebody who helps people with their social media and running my own, I know, commenting and communicating, it's going to make your social media grow more, right?
Boost it.
But what about, I mean, are they, the people that you're working with, do they recommend like get in there and get into the comments? So it's part of it, right? So you can't really ignore it. I guess you got to be Rogan, that millions of followers. I guess he could post and ghost and it's no big deal. And he could give a shit about the social media side of things, I think.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I mean, it's super difficult, we've been really lucky. The podcast is where we have our biggest presence. We've been really lucky. The one I can remember, like the worst comment that we got that was also hilarious was originally I started this again with like, there were 5 of us, one female and 4 guys. And me and one of the other guys, pretty large, I'm 230. He was easily like 265. And he said, look at these fat guys sitting around a table like they're on The View. That was the worst and funniest comment we ever had. And that was from there where I was just like, we got lucky and it didn't continue like that and we didn't have a lot of negative, but I was just like, oh, I'm not going to be able to look at comments. I'm going to have to do this. Like we'll put out the podcast and then just not going to look at the comments, because I figured people were going to start taking shots. And we got lucky and they didn't, but that was my first experience with it. It made me laugh, but it also hurt. That was the first time I had a negative comment for anything, because all I was doing before that was only my personal social media before the podcast.
And one of my mentors, Dan Martell, he says, the world will show you where you're not free. And I had a lot of conversations with Matt about, going through this, growing of an audience. And he's like, why is that bothering you? Like, be honest with yourself. Do you present like a normal female? And it's like, no. Does your voice sound like a normal female? And it's like, well, no. And he's like, well, then why are you letting that bother you? Because people are just not sure. And I think where it just hurts is when people are nasty about it versus just being genuinely curious, right? Because those are two different things. And especially because I come from a traditional martial arts background where there's respect, I think what hurts the most is when you see other school owners do it. And I'm just thinking in the back of my head, like, you call yourself a black belt, you're teaching other people martial arts. We preach that martial arts teaches respect, and you're on here being nasty and being a keyboard warrior. That, like, look, the white belt, blue belt, purple belt, making the comment, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you're another school owner, which I believe that when you open a business in a community, you now have a responsibility. There's weight on your shoulders. Your words do carry weight. And this is why I think it's so disgusting that black belts in the martial arts get put up on a pedestal. Like you said, just because you're a black belt doesn't make you a good person, but they take advantage of that. And it just makes me sick that a BJJ black belt or an instructor or a school owner would go online and be disrespectful to somebody that they don't even know when we're preaching that martial arts builds confidence, discipline, and respect.
Character.
And will help your child overcome cyberbullying. And it's like, you're being a hypocrite. And I think that's the biggest frustration of, the social media game for me right now.
Yeah. Funny, like when somebody exposes himself as a dirtbag, I'm going to use that word because I've experienced that with my recent experience with leaving my gym. When somebody exposes themselves, I remind myself almost to like, thank you. Thank you for letting me know who you are. At least I know now. You've been hiding it all this time, and I didn't know that you were this person. Thank you. And then I tell this to like my daughter and my employees. I say, believe people. I think I stole this from Michelle or Barack Obama. They said this at some point way back. Believe people when they tell you who they are, right? Mm-hmm. If somebody tells you that, like if somebody's commenting like that, that's probably their personality. Like that's the personality that people think they get to hide on social media. So I love when people expose themselves like that, easily unfollow, or, hey, I haven't had a lot of experience with negative comments, probably until somebody hears this episode, but I've been lucky in that regard. But a few like little things here and there that I always just find it funny. And I had a co-host for a while. His name is Miguel, a real good friend of mine. He got really busy at work, so he hasn't been able to co-host. But he would go in and answer, like he just had this funny way of answering anything, no matter what they said. And I would just be like, yeah, I saw that comment, no big deal. Like little stupid stuff, nothing that really got under my skin. But I would just stop answering stuff, especially on YouTube. And he would go in and answer it, and I would laugh at his responses. Again, but I feel like I love when somebody exposes them, whether it's online or even in my personal life. When you expose it, actually you're saving me a lot of time and effort by letting me know who you are. At least I know who you are, and I just, you could choose to remove them from your life, or at least you know how to deal with them and what you're getting. But I say all of that with, I'm no angel. I'm not perfect. I'm sure probably plenty of things in my life that people didn't agree with or like, but I do kind of, I'm like, I knew, there was something about that person, right? And they exposed themselves. Yeah. So anyway, so let's get into, we're going to start to wrap things up. We have a little thing at the end of the episode called
The Drill Down.
Okay. These are the most commonly asked questions. Oh, no, this is good stuff. These are easy, and I think they're kind of fun sometimes. So we call this the Drill Down. These are like the most commonly sent questions. So we just put it into like the end of the episode with like a little bit more of a rapid fire, if you want to call it that. So we're going to start with number 1. Preference, gi or no gi?
No gi, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You can elaborate, please.
I started training in the gi at a Gracia Pac school, and I'm a smaller player. And it's like, if you, Milton, 200 and however pounds, if you grab my gi, it's very, very difficult for me to break that grip. It just is, right? Yeah. And I would prefer I just like the speed of no gi and the fact that they can't just grab me and hang on. So for me, no gi.
I say I'm actually again, I'm hurt right now. I have a groin injury. So I've somebody invited me to their academy, and he invited me to a no gi day. And I said, when is your next gi? For that reason is that I can control the pace a little bit. And I don't have to maybe explode or move as fast, because that's usually what aggravates it. So right now I'm a fan of gi because of that. And as a bigger player, sometimes I've had to pull guard a lot because I'm usually the bigger person in the fight or in the role. So I'm going to pull guard. So if somebody does get a little crazy because I pull guard and now they think, I got the black belt, and then I can slow them down by grabbing the gate. Sure. Takedown or pull guard?
Pull guard.
Little guy, little player.
Yeah.
Pull guard.
Yep.
Music during rolling. Yes or no?
Appropriate music during rolling. I think instrumental is the way to go. We love the instrumental hip hop channel.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like you'll hear like the beat of like a Dre song and parents are like, you're gonna play this song? And it's like, it's instrumental. But I think what's important to understand, especially if you're teaching kids, and I mean this is the same with adults, music can actually make the environment more chaotic if there's a lot of people on the mat. So it's got to be appropriate, and I mean it you know, a respectable volume as well.
Okay. So the next question was music preference, which you said you like the instrumental stuff.
I like instrumental hip hop.
Yeah. Next question: annoying things that you've seen your coaches do.
Annoying things that I see that my coaches do. Well, I mean, we have systems and processes on the way that we want classes ran. And if they're not utilizing our class structure, that's very annoying. I have a very specific way that we teach techniques. It's called the STEDI method of teaching. It's basically on-command teaching. We used it in Taekwondo, and I think it's the absolute best way to teach adult beginner jiu-jitsu as well as kids jiu-jitsu. So that is what would annoy me the most is, hey, we have a system and process. There's a checklist in place, and you're just choosing not to do it. Showing up late. I mean, that's, you know, to be early is to be on time. And I think the school owners that deal with this the most are the ones that pay their instructors per class. I don't believe in paying people per class. I believe in either a part-time hourly position or a salaried position, because when you pay people per class, all they do is show up to teach the class. And there are pre-class things that should be done and post-class things that should be done that if you're paying per class, bro, I taught the class, I'm out. See ya. So those are some of the things that are annoying.
Same question, students. What are something annoying, or what do students do that annoy you when you're teaching a class?
I mean, you know, you've got kid students and you got adult students, right? So those are going to be two different answers. You know, if I'm teaching adults, you know, anytime somebody's talking when the instructor is talking, I just think that is really disrespectful. You know, students that just want to rep the move twice and then they don't want to do it anymore. And my instructor, Rob Kahn, actually had a very interesting take on this. And his mindset was, they're the ones that are paying me. If they only want to rep it twice and just sit there and talk, then let them rep it twice and sit there and talk. So, you know, I think you could argue that. But for me, like, you're here because you have specific goals. My job as your coach is to sometimes make you do things that you don't want to do if I know that it's ultimately going to help you reach a goal. In terms of the kids, you know, like annoying, right? Kids that always have to go to the bathroom multiple times throughout the class, or they always want a water break. They're always, and this is just normal, but I think it's really important how the parent handles it, always looking for their parent for approval. You know, we want them to be able to find that approval internally and not necessarily externally. Dirty feet. Oh man, that's gross. Right?
Biggest pet peeve in the gym is the going to the bathroom without putting on slippers or putting on shoes.
Yeah, that's just nasty. And like, oh man, you go to tournaments and you see that, and it's like, what in the world? That is
There's
gross.
Nothing more disgusting than watching somebody at a urinal with bare feet. It's disgusting. Yeah. I mean, I
don't have to see that.
That is the worst thing and then know that they're walking out there.
They're about to get on the mat. Yep.
And I'll say this publicly. I've always said this, but I never, you know, mentioned it about my school, my old academy. There was coaches, kids walking into the bathroom barefoot. I'd be like, it would be disgusting. And I would go get my slippers, walk across the mat, go and put them down, make sure people saw me. Like, I tried to change that as far as like culture, and like some of the adults would start to do it, but I think it's disgusting, and it's something that you're supposed to teach these kids. I just don't know why they didn't make. They had recently, towards the end of my time there, they had like a little mat that I guess you would wet with some disinfectant. You can step on it. And then it was never wet. Like, aren't you supposed to wet this thing? Are we out of whatever solution you put on this? So my annoying thing that I used to do as a student, which I caught myself and I stopped doing, was bigger guy. Sometimes the move would just have to be a little bit different for me, or, a little back problems or have an injury. And I'd be like, so the coach would come over, like, no, you're doing it wrong. And I'd be like, no, well, I'm doing it like this because I've got this, that, like, I would do that. And I would just stop myself and then really try to do it the way. And most of the time I'd find, okay, I just didn't have my foot in the right place. It wasn't because of my back. I wasn't doing the move correctly. So I stopped doing that, but that was something annoying that I used to drive my coach nuts. All right. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, right. What would you be doing if you hadn't have found martial arts?
What would I be doing if I hadn't have found martial arts? Nobody's ever asked me that. That is actually a really difficult question because it's been such a big part of my life since I was 8 years old. But I am a teacher at heart. And whether it's I'm teaching martial arts students on the mat, whether I'm teaching business owners in a webinar, whether I'm teaching from stage, whether I'm teaching my team, we're about to have our all hands on deck meeting here. And we do it every Friday, everybody in the company. And I teach them on something different. Today, we're talking about productivity and time management. So I actually have a degree in education. I went that route because I thought that when I knew I was going to open up the martial arts school, but I come from a family where college was a non-negotiable. You're going to college no matter what. I had a full ride, an academic scholarship to the University of South Florida. So I went there for education. I started with business, but I'm not a huge fan of math. And even though now I say
math is the path. Wait a minute.
I know. Well, it was freaking like calculus. And you don't have to know calculus to run a business.
Yeah.
You need to know basic addition, subtraction,
my high school lost me
multiplication, and division.
they lost me at when I started taking algebra class. I was like, oh God, yeah, this is definitely not for me.
So I started in business and then I changed my major to education. And it actually worked really well because when parents were coming to sign up at Gracia Pac, it was a unique selling point. Like, oh, I actually have a degree in elementary education and I'm the one that is teaching the kids. So I would probably be in a classroom and knowing me just with the ambition, I'd be working my way up to, principal and then being on the board and stuff like that. But I would probably be in the education space.
Oh, okay. So what is your ultimate goal? You've now sold Gracia Pac. What is your ultimate goal in the world? I normally am asking a jiu-jitsu person, but let's just say in martial arts, what is your ultimate goal in this world of martial arts? What legacy would you like to leave behind?
Yeah, I've had some really, really great chapters from being a student to being a competitor to being the manager of a school, an instructor, to owning, to running after school programs and summer camps, to being an actual business owner, not an owner operator, an actual owner, like not being in the business operating. I feel like I've gone through all of those stages, and I feel like that was one of the reasons why selling made sense to me. The one thing about being a martial arts instructor in your town is that you are limited to the amount of people that you can have a profound effect on. You're limited to potentially a 5-mile, 10-mile, 15-mile radius. And, over the course of your life, you could, affect tens of thousands of people. But I wanted to have a bigger impact of that. And I think that's where the internet, it's one of the coolest aspects of the internet. And now, while I might not own a martial arts school, we have 457 clients. That's 457 martial arts school owners that we run Facebook ads, Google ads. We do their live lead follow-up. We do everything but websites. That's 457 schools that could be adding 10, 20, 30 new students and introducing them into the martial arts because of this little thing that I built. So now that ripple effect of tens of thousands could literally be hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Sure. Our current goal right now is, I've got a multi-7-figure business and I want an 8-figure business. And then once I have an 8-figure business, I'm going to want a 9-figure business. And, I think that we are the happiest in our life when we are progressing. I think that's why I fell in love with martial arts so much, because there was a physical showcase of progression, like through your belts and your stripes and your patches and different leadership programs. And I'm just on a mission of turning floors into ceilings, not just for myself, But when I do that for myself, I get to turn floors into ceilings for my team members and for my clients as well.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's a great answer. You know, I feel that resonates with me. I, you know, just want to leave this little world better than I found it, you know, and that we're going on this new path that we'll start talking about in the next couple of weeks a little bit more. But
I think the word legacy is interesting, you know, because that's kind of where the question was. And, you know, you see some very, very popular celebrities and people that everybody know that pass away, and you never hear about them again, right? I mean, these people that could have been beloved by millions of people. And to me, you know, legacy is, I always want to be the first phone call that my sons make. That is a legacy that I want. I want to be the first person that they call, because that's the biggest impact I can make on anybody's life, is the impact that I have on my own children. So yeah, you know, I want to do some big things, but at the end of the day, there is no worldly success or compensation that makes up for failure in the home. And I think that as business owners, very often our family, our health, it gets put on the back burner because we're trying to build this thing. And there's chapters, and this is why it's so important to pick such a supportive person that understands what your goals are. And that's my wife. You know, people ask, like, how are you able to do all of this? Well, because my wife and I have a really great partnership, and we're on the same page of, these are my responsibilities, these are your responsibilities, and we come together and take care of those as a team. And when we take care of ourselves personally, we get to show up better, you know, for each other. So I just think it's a common cycle that you see business owners go through, and especially martial arts owners, where I was one of them. You know, I was in phenomenal shape when I opened my school, and then I opened the school, and the stress of that, and like, you're eating and you're drinking because of the stress, and I got up to 170 pounds. I mean, Matt Arroyo, my best friend, he came up to me, he goes, do you know you're in the same weight class as George St. Pierre? Like, that's a good friend right there. Friends tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Listeners of the show know that I got at the 1 year anniversary of my divorce, and you just explained why I got divorced. We were not on the same page. Work, business, the podcast, even though I was the main breadwinner and I paid more to every bill than I did not have that support. Everything, those things were the other woman. These are things that take me away from you, as opposed to like, hey, like, maybe you can, you know, do the books for the company, and maybe you could leave your job and work for one of these things. And none of that worked. And she was like a 9-to-5er, did not understand. We're a unique breed when you run your own business, right? You've got to have a unique personality. It's not for everybody. It is not freaking easy. You know, you've got to wear so many hats in the beginning. You're the accountant, you're the salesperson, you're the custodian, you're putting out fires here and there. And we were not on the same page. I had a 9-to-5. I left to open the marketing company because I wanted to do the podcast more. The podcast had taken off. We had sponsors. It was going. I wanted more time. And then the marketing company took off. So we're just getting back to doing the podcast more than we have in the recent past. But yeah, I wound up getting divorced. We were not on the same page. So yeah, having somebody who's supportive is huge. And you know, it really does take a village. You know, I needed somebody, you know, kind of pushing me. I used to say, I'm sick of like pulling you up behind me.
Yep.
Every once in a while, I want somebody to tell me to get my fat ass in the gym, or, hey, did you finish that work, or did you get that project done? Like, we all need that. And then the appreciation for that. Like, you're working hard. I'm not working hard because I like working hard. I'm working hard to build, you know, this business for the family, you know. And now I said, my daughter works for the company, her half sister works for the company, and my future son-in-law worked for the company. So I did what I was setting out to do, which was, if I could build something that the family could be a part of. And now my legacy, I'm trying to be the business. Like, I'm handing her a business that she gets to run. We do work remotely. I'm in Florida, they're in Virginia. We have an employee in New York. So we are remote, like, showing her this different world. Like, it doesn't have to be I have worked 9-to-5s and been in offices all my life. But post-COVID, we just picked up this model and it's worked.
Trust me, there are some days I wish we had a remote model, but there's pros and cons to both of it. You know?
Seeing that after for her being a teacher for 5 solid years in Virginia and waking up and going to a thankless job that she really started to hate, and now she sees, oh, wow, you know, some days she can sit on the couch, little cover over, and get all of her work done, everything that they need. Just the fact that I got to show her a different part of this world and how you can make money and how you can build something. Will we always be this model? I don't know. As we grow, I feel like we're going to have to be in an office together at some point, but she doesn't want to move to Florida. But yeah, definitely. That's part of my, like building this thing is a huge part of what I want to do. Just got to get her on the mats. Got to get them both on the mats. I would really love for them to be a little bit and understand like the podcast. The podcast is part of this business now because again we get leads, you know, from the podcast. We get plenty of jiu-jitsu business owners that want to do something. But okay, we'll leave that there. I have one last question. Sure. Very last question. This is the biggest and most asked question of any question that we ever ask on the show is: do you or do you not wash your jiu-jitsu belt? Yep.
And look at that. I mean, I predominantly train no gi, so I don't wash my jiu-jitsu
But I've seen you in a gig. I've seen you in a gig, right? I've seen you on the mats.
I have been in gis. Okay. No, I was taught in my Taekwondo school that if you wash your belt, you wash away all the hard work. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's not just jiu-jitsu then. It's other martial arts as well. So we're not the only ones. Okay.
It was
all right.
Taekwondo. And also, like, they gave electrical tape stripes. So if you washed your belt, the stripes would fall off.
Okay.
But no, I don't think I've ever washed my jiu-jitsu belt. And maybe you think that I'm a dirty mofo. But no, don't wash the jiu-jitsu belt.
I have washed every belt. I've wound up having 2. I was never attached to the belt in some way. Like, oh my, like, I've always had, except for white belt, at blue through brown, I always had 2 belts. A lot of times it was because Flow and Roll would send me one after I get promoted. I have been a black belt since December. I have not washed my black belt yet, and I do predominantly gi. But I will. I've taken the advice of I either spray it with Lysol. I spray it after I spray it with Lysol, or where is it? Do we have it here? I had a container of a neutral zone. They give us wipes, but they have a spray, so I would spray it with the neutral zone, one or the other. So I do that now, but I have not washed it once yet. It's coming. Part of that too is like black belt, brand new black belt, and we could only wear white gis in my academy. So throwing it in, I was just like, oh, it's gonna. Now my new academy, I actually wear mostly black gis now. So now I'm like, eventually I'm just gonna throw it in with the black gi, and it's not gonna be a big deal. So that's the only reason.
Ridiculously funny that's the number one question that everybody wants to know.
It used to be a fight on the show when it was 5 of us. One of my training partners was brown, and he was a black belt for part of the show, and he would just ridicule me. He'd find any reason to make a joke about me. Oh, yeah, well, that's what happens when you're a belt washer. Like everything went back to washing my belt. So it just became this thing, and then we would, when somebody answers, well, we'll see if Bo, my producer, does it. It'll say like team wash your belt or team powers in the belt on the bottom of the screen.
That's funny. But I'm also a girl, and you know, girls, when we sweat, we don't stink. So my belt has never really stunk.
I've heard plenty
girls
of
can stink
too. Yes, they can. Chris, let me give you. I don't know if you have anybody you want to say hello to, shout out, sponsors, anybody you work with. I usually give our guests a little bit of time to thank or to shout out sponsors. So the floor is yours.
Yeah. Look, if you are in a place, you know, you're a martial arts school owner, you're a jiu-jitsu school owner, and you are in a place that is not where you ultimately want to be, you need to go out and get a coach. And I'd be happy to offer a free one-on-one, no strings attached. I don't even sell coaching. I own an agency. I do some of my coaching as a part of the bonus that our clients get. But training in the martial arts completely changed my life. You know, the famous, you know, poem, 2 roads diverged, and I chose the road less traveled. I am who I am and have had the level of success that I've had due to the life skills, due to my instructors that I had going up through the ranks, due to my mentors. And if I can help you out, I'd be happy to. My email is midgettwister@gmail.com. You don't get to pick your nickname. That's the nickname that I got. I'm short. I'm fast. It's a jujitsu technique. And because I taught the kids, they say, oh, you twist the midgets when you're, teaching them. So if you'd like to reach out, I'd be happy to offer any help and potentially just point you in the right direction. If you need some coaching in your academy, again, it's midgettwister@gmail.com. If you're not following me on social, please do. Cris, C-R-I-S, Lee, L-E-E, Rodriguez. Give me a follow on Instagram and shoot me a message that you heard this so I can, follow you back and put you in my primary inbox. And if you're a school owner that needs help with digital marketing, I'm not saying pick my company. I'm just asking, give us a shot. We offer a free marketing audit as well as a discovery call. Matt Arroyo's nephew, Tony, who's a 2-stripe blue belt in jiu-jitsu, he tells me, always mention I have 2 stripes. That's a big deal, the 2 stripes on my blue belt. It's Matt's nephew. He's been with me for 3 years. He's my business development rep. He'll do the free marketing audit, let you know what's working well, where you have some room for improvement, go over our programs. And if you think it's a good fit, we'd love to be able to help you out. I don't know when this episode's going live, but this is the back to school season that we're in right now. This is the time to go pedal to the metal with your marketing. So shoot me an email, give me a follow. And if you need some digital marketing, I'd love if you would consider Gro Pro Agency.
We'll air probably by Wednesday of next week. So we'll come out relatively quickly.
Nice turnaround.
And just by the way, for anybody that's, that's on Instagram, you are a great follow for martial arts academies, students and practitioners, and business owners. Some of the things that you're talking about, when you give like 3 tips or 5 things that I did wrong, like all that stuff is great for any business owner.
Business.
Yeah, it's that stuff has really resonated with me, and I love whenever I can put jiu-jitsu and the business world together. I love having people on and talking about the business side of things. So this is like I kind of like get to geek out a little bit on this stuff. So, but you are a great follow for any business owner. It doesn't just have to be jiu-jitsu or martial arts. So we're going to leave it at, don't hang up for a second. I just got a couple of shout outs and then we're going to take a couple of pictures. So
unlock the power of your online presence with Black Belt Digital Marketing. Their reputation management program ensures your Google business profile seen by more potential customers. Black Belt Digital Marketing is your full-service digital marketing agency specializing in local SEO and reputation management. Boost your business today. Visit bbdigitalmarketing.com. Your success is their priority.
Special thank you to the crew over at Flow and Roll for all their support. Flow and Roll is renowned for their incredible no-gi rash guards, shorts, and leggings. Flow and Roll has quickly become the premier custom apparel provider for academies big and small throughout the United States. Reach out today to discuss your custom order and ask about their incredible pre-order program. You can send an email to flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their Instagram at flow_n_roll and shoot them a direct message. And yes, they can create an awesome custom gi for your academy as well. Visit flowandroll.com to check out their awesome designs, and while you're there, pick up a Jiu-Jitsu Dummy signature tee exclusively at flowandroll.com. And remember, you'll get 20% off your purchase of t-shirts, rash guards, or gis with code JJD.
Just a shout out to Combat CBD. You can check them out at combatcbds.com. Get 20% off with code JJD. We got bioprotech.com as well. Get 30% off with code JJD on their regularly priced kits. So you've got a total more than $295 to get $30 off with code JJD. And welcome back to the BJJ Box. We'll be talking about them a little bit more in the coming weeks. They're not only supporting the show again, but they're also supporting Academy Safe, and Academy Safe you can find it at Academy Safe on Instagram and Facebook. We'll let you know a little bit more about what we're doing in the coming weeks. So thank you again, everybody. Housekeeping here, Jiu-Jitsu Dummies for all the ways to watch, listen, and support. My IG is Uncle Milty. I didn't get to choose my my nickname either, Chris. They've been calling me Uncle Milty since I was in the 3rd grade. When I went to a friend's house and his mom was like, "You don't know who Milton Berle is?" And I'm like, "Oh, Milton Berle." And she's like, Uncle Milty. And then he went to school and told everybody that called me Uncle Milty. And they've been calling me. I hated it up until I was an adult, and now I just embrace it and I love it. So Uncle Milty BJJ on Instagram. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Peace, love, jiu-jitsu. Us.